Module 3. Classification of traditional media. It is actually not easy to isolate the traditional media in terms of classes, just as is done in modern mass media, where you have electronic media, radio, TV, the internet, you have the print media, newspapers, magazines, and all that. But here, in traditional media setting, attempts have been made to isolate these traditional media into groups. Let's look at these classifications that have been made. Let's look at other general classifications. The traditional media have been classified into verbal and non-verbal groupings. The verbal category has oral tradition, the town crier, that's traditional newsmen, opinion leaders, group communication through age grades, secret societies, town union meetings, chants, incantations, all forms of communication within the traditional media setting that involve the use of words. When you speak out the words, it is verbal communication. This includes libation and others. Prayers, once you communicate, you speak, that's verbal communication within traditional media setting. The non-verbal category consists of the communication process that could be referred to as wordless communication. It consists of physical appearance, including dressing, tattoos, facial marks, tribal and other ceremonial marks, finger snapping, pigments and colors, symbols and objectified media, plants and animal. Here, you don't use words, but the non-verbal nature of the channels speak loud. In fact, in the non-verbal category, three major elements operate here: appearance, body language, and sounds. Of course, silence also communicates. Now, the use of appearance, body language, and sounds to communicate within traditional media setting are classified under non-verbal communication channels. So, non-verbal communication is communication through wordless clues, the use of visual clues, to communicate. It also includes use of instruments. We talked about sound. Instruments such as drums, gongs, string devices, flutes, and horns. You talk about demonstrative channels such as dance and dance drama, signals and signs, such as use of cannon shots, smoke, marks on the road, knots, among others. The non-verbal category also consists of all wordless clues such as body movement, that is kinesics, nodding, shaking of hands, hand gestures, eye contact, posture, patting on the back, and other forms of touching that can convey meaning, maybe a meaning of intimacy and all that. Let's look at classifications done by Professor Des Wilson. Professor Wilson could be described as a legend in the study of traditional communication. He made the first meaningful attempt to isolate the traditional media into specific groups. Let's briefly look at Professor Wilson's classification of traditional media before we move ahead. He presented 10 categories of the traditional media. Idiophones. These are self-sounding instruments such as the gongs, wooden or metal gong. They produce sounds and express meanings when you beat them with something. For instance, the ikoro in parts of Igbo land, Nigeria. The ikoro is a big instrument that when you beat it, you use it to signal war or the death of a personality, or you're calling attention for an important message that maybe traditional ruler wants the village to know. Of course, the wooden and the metal gong, of course, the ogene, the town crier, they are known as traditional newsmen. The town criers used to make use of the ogene to call attention of the people of the community before passing across the message. Membranophones. They produce sounds through membranes they are made of. Example is the leather skin of drums. They produce sounds that express meaning. In southwestern Nigeria, the Yorubas are popular for the talking drums. The talking drums speak. They are used even during festivals for praise singing. The talking drums, common among the Yorubas in southwestern Nigeria, are used to express meanings. Praise singers make use of talking drums because the drum speaks. Aerophones. They produce sounds through vibration of columns of air. Examples include the flutes, horns, trumpets, and pipes. Praise singers use the flutes to sing the praises of personalities during ceremonies and other events. Symbolic graphics. This refers to symbolic writings and expression of symbolic meanings using things like fresh palm fronds, the omo, raffia leaves, even ordinary green leaves from a tree. Ordinary green leaves are still used today to express meanings, especially to express emotions such as anger, sadness, unhappiness. During riots and protests, people use the green leaf to draw attention to the kind of emotion they are expressing. It's also used to express empathy, sympathy. That is when you place it on your car or you hold it, which means you are identifying with those who are protesting and all that. The green leaves are also placed on roads and some other places to express danger or to draw attention to something. Today, when people's cars break down along the road, they use green leaves to indicate that the car is undergoing repair and all that. Signals. This refers to use of signals to communicate through channels such as gunshots, cannon shots. This is done during social events. It could be during burials to express meanings concerning the kind of personality being buried and all that. Objectives. This refers to channels presented in their concrete forms, which have significant meanings such as kola nuts, white pigeon, feathers, white eggs, cowries, pictures, flowers, and charcoal. Color schemes. This consists of use of various colors to express meanings. Colors such as red, white and red combined, white and black combined, or just white, black, green, yellow, among others. Music. This refers to a combination of local instruments to produce melody that expresses meanings. The music could be combined with songs to achieve meaning and to communicate in various ways. Extra-mundane communication media. This refers to all forms of communication between the living and the dead, or between the living and the spirit world. They include incantations, spiritual chants, rituals, prayers, sacrifice, swearing, cursing, invocation, trance, among others. Symbolic displays. This category is similar to the symbolographics, but there's a thin line dividing them. They include sticking out of the tongue, waving of hand, manipulation of voice tone to vary meanings, facial expressions, among others. So this first attempt to classify traditional media done by Wilson in 1991 could be described as a disruptive contribution to the study of traditional communication, because it was the first attempt to organize, to isolate traditional media and give them a different meaning and put them in classes such that there could be an attempt to understand them and then study them effectively.